And it's hit deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza and the Mets lead 3-2. Congratulations to Mets Hall of Famer Mike Piazza. We'll talk about his Hall of Fame induction, the weekend Mets, and we've got two great in-studio guests, Melissa Weinstein and also Jaron Kiviat of NYM_Mets. That's the Instagram page and Twitter. Mets Wrap 360 starts now.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Yay.
Well, it's already a great day because not only the Mets win, but Mike Piazza was inducted in the Hall of Fame. I busted this out of cold storage. What? For those of you listening on the on YouTube, listening on iTunes, not watching on YouTube, I have a Mike Piazza batting practice t-shirt on, which I don't get to wear very often. Today was a great day to wear it. Anyway, welcome to Mets Wrap 360. I'm Christian Bladt, at ChristianDMZ. And to my left, camera right, Andrea Fasano, at Andy Fasano. Say hi to the people.
Hi, guys. I'm excited to be on this side of the table with you.
I know, it's very weird.
It is so awkward.
And not at that end of the table. Matt Ritter is on assignment because he wanted to get as far away from the Mets as possible, so he went to Europe.
Yes.
But my friend Melissa Weinstein making her
Hello.
Mets Wrap 360 debut.
Welcome.
And we'll talk a little bit about how we know each other. Spoiler alert, it has to do with the Mets. And way down at the end of the desk, Jaron Kiviat of now, should I call it NYM News or NYM_News? Because
just NYM News.
NYM News, but you find it at NYM_ on both Instagram and Twitter.
NYM_News, yeah.
Yeah, okay, NYM_News. Yeah. So, welcome everybody. There's so much to talk about. But first and foremost, Andrea, how much did you miss me last week?
I missed you so much.
Tell me more.
Did you not get our shout out?
No,
on
I did.
Snapchat and Instagram.
I saw the Snapchat. I saw the Instagram, and I liked during the show when Matt said I was on assignment at Shea Stadium.
Yes.
So, as the guest pointed out, I was on assignment back in 2008.
Well, I think you would have really liked the guest, first of all. But
he seemed great on air.
He had a lot of information.
I hope he comes
awesome.
back when I'm around.
But I am really excited that you got to see a game. I mean, how
yeah,
was it?
So that was great. For anybody that's ever been to Philadelphia to see a Mets game, I went years ago at Veterans Stadium and also more recently in 2008, which is the year that the Phillies won the World Series. So that was a year where it was very well represented with Phillies fans. It was jam-packed. Mm-hmm. They were very vocal. This year was a lot more like the Vet because anybody who doesn't quite know the geography, Philadelphia is right across the bridge from South Jersey, and you have a lot of Mets fans in like Trenton and other parts of South Jersey where it's so much easier to just drive across the Walt Whitman Bridge, go to Citizens Bank Park, then I can't even imagine going from Trenton all the way up into the city, out to Queens. So there was very vocal Mets contingent. Phillies fans were nice because, you know, they knew that their team wasn't that good. But there was a guy behind us who was so funny because the catcher that they had in the lineup wasn't Chooch, their usual bagger. He's like, Chooch would have caught that. Everything was like what Chooch. Yeah, so that was great. I don't know. So it was fun. So there was some of that Philly character. And, you know, I meant to bring it, but I actually got a bobblehead that I'll have to bring for a future show. It was a Frank Sinatra bobblehead. It has a little Phillies logo on the home plate, but it was Italian-American Heritage Night. So my friend John, who'd been a guest on the show before, it was his bachelor party. He's Italian. We went to a restaurant beforehand, Italian restaurant, which, as it turns out, the Victor Cafe, the restaurant we went to, that is the restaurant that they use to double as Rocky Balboa's restaurant in Rocky Balboa in Creed.
No way.
So it could have been a more Italian heritage evening.
Philly has a lot of cool things like that going on.
Philly is a great town to visit. Mm-hmm. I'm not disappointed that I don't live there, but just, hey, statement of fact.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. But so I had a great time there, but I'm glad to be back here at the show.
Cool, I'm glad
and
good.
I'm also very excited that we have our guests. Now, I'll go to you first, Melissa.
Okay.
On Twitter, by the way, at MELISWEIN, right?
Yeah.
So it's Melissa Wine.
Yeah.
Not Melissa Weinstein. Was
Correct.
that taken, or was it too many characters?
It just wasn't as fun.
It's not as fun.
Abbreviations are what it's all about.
Andrea asked how I know you, and I said what? Save it for the air, because that's what we do here.
I know,
so talk a little bit about it, and you have a visual aid to demonstrate.
Do you want me to
you can
pick it
you
up?
can bend down and pick it up, and I know it'll look. You know, she's disappeared from camera for those of you watching on YouTube, but
here, I'm gonna give it to you.
Yeah, so
I'll
yeah. So you talk about how we first met at Dodger Stadium.
Yes.
At a Mets Dodgers.
I think it was 2012.
Okay.
Is that game in here?
Yes, it is. It absolutely is.
Yeah. So I know that it's all right.
Pick a better one with more colors.
I love it.
Okay, I'll find one with colors. Yeah. Anyway, you tell the story.
Yeah, so I was sitting in my seat before the Dodger game, and Christian was there with a friend of his, came up to me as I was setting up my scorecard and asked me if I would take a picture of the two of them. We ended up chatting, stayed in touch over Twitter, and then ended up traveling to a bunch of different stadiums together, mostly by accident.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the first time I ever was at a game that the Seven Line was at, which we give a shout out to every week, as you know, Andrea, the Seven Line Army, was at PNC Park. No, sorry, what do they call it now?
AT&T.
AT&T Park. I remember it had a different name, and it always confused me. Yeah, it was like SBC Park, it was Pac Bell, but now it's AT&T Park in San Francisco, and so I sat over there, and it was crazy. This was 2012 or 13. Maybe 13.
14.
And it was early on. I didn't know exactly what the Seven Line was all about. But so you were there for that game, and you've gone to a couple of Seven Line games.
I just went to Milwaukee. That was my fourth. And then I did San Diego, which we will all remember for Bartolo Colon's amazing historic home run. And then last year I did Denver, and then San Francisco the year before.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, don't jump.
I had to flip it over. It's hard to see on camera. You know what I'll do is I'll take a picture and post it on Twitter so that you can see. Well, I'm sorry.
That's just the whole idea.
But the fact that the lineup is Matt Den Decker leading off at AT&T Park, and then the other Chris Young batting in the 5-hole. I'm like, oh, must have been a terrible game. Anyway, so for our guest out at the end, Jaron Kiviat of NYM News. Now you also went to the you were at the Seven Line outing for the Bartolo Colon home run. So before we talk about anything else, how likely did you think it was that Bartolo Colon would hit a game?
I knew he was going to do something exciting because I was actually recording on an iPad I had at the time. And I was recording, and like when he hit the home run, I was just following it with the iPad. I'm like, no way. It was insane.
Awesome. It was basically how I think we all felt at that. Yeah, and that was actually the second show we did of Mets Wrap 360 was after that trip. So I was very excited to talk about that. We'll talk a little bit about how you live in Southern California and ended up a Mets fan, and how you started NYM News.
Well, I mean, since my whole family's from New York, I guess I kind of got it from them. I just didn't want to be a Dodger fan. I just grew up a Mets fan since day one.
Look, that's all you really need is to not want to be a Dodger fan.
Exactly.
You know? My goal is for my son. I can't have him be a Dodger fan. And my friend Adam lives in Baltimore. He's a diehard Red Sox fan. But his son is an Orioles fan because they go to the games all the time. So I'm just like, I don't think I can take my son to Dodger Stadium ever.
But that doesn't necessarily translate because I'm from Baltimore and grew up going to Orioles games all the time. And
how'd you become a Mets fan?
My dad's from Long Island, and he just
it's the same thing. Yeah, it's very strong, you know. And
those roots.
I was a big Mets fan when I moved here, but I didn't necessarily watch or listen to every single game. But when it was sort of the only taste of home that you could have very easily. Like, I loved listening to the radio broadcast because you get the terrible commercials, 1-800-CARS-FOR-KIDS notwithstanding.
That's a good one.
No, it's terrible.
Yeah, but don't you just sing it all the time?
Yeah, and as a result of that, I will never donate my car to that company. No. I'll donate it to another one.
But it's for the kids.
Yeah, but they spend all their money on advertising, so I feel like it's a bad place.
There's actually a billboard on the way to the studio.
Oh, is there really?
Yeah, coming from Hollywood, there is one over there.
They're really
He was telling us, go ahead. So
I know what Zach's doing right now. Thank you, Zach. It's all right. You can continue talking, Jaron. We'll just leave it in the background.
So quick.
So basically I got it from him, and I can't pay attention.
That's all right, Zach. Anytime you want to fade it back in or fade it out, that's fine. But anyway, Jaron, go ahead.
1-877.
This guy's the best. Yeah, that's like if Dracula was singing the song.
Zach's the
all right, so you wanted to start, and you started the website in 2014.
Yeah, beginning of that season. That's like when we just got Curtis Granderson, Bartolo Colon, also I believe.
Yeah, two moves that I don't think anybody was like, yes, they're gonna end up in the World Series next year.
But it was
a
start. It was from us going to like pretty bad to like decent, and then the next year.
Right, and the year before pretty bad, 2013, like 2012, they were terrible, and in 2011 they were so it's a mild improvement. You know, there's only one more place left to go this year, unfortunately, and we'll talk about the prospects for that. So, talk about some of the popularity, some of the people who follow the page, and some of the interactions you get to have.
I've actually talked to Yoenis Cespedes. I mean, he's always been a favorite player of mine ever since I heard his name when he was on Oakland. I mean,
and he has a great theme song. I liked him when he came up, but my wife and I actually went to the All-Star game at Citi Field where he won the home run derbies. We went to the home run derby too. So from that moment on, I'm like, yep. And then when I heard that the Mets were going to get him, I'm like, hey, I've seen that guy hit a lot of home runs at Citi Field. So you've interacted with Cespedes,
Yeah, Jose Reyes too, another big name.
who we'll talk about shortly because I have the cabarets here. Is it open or closed? You can't have any. I don't. Spoiler alert! I'm not opening it yet today.
I'm like, how old are you?
Oh, that's
Older
sweet
than
though.
you think
No, but
I
that's
am.
sweet. That's sweet that she doesn't know. Yeah.
Well, you never know.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I like that you went younger
Of
instead of
course.
older.
Of course.
Sorry. So Jose has interacted with
And
you.
I want to know more about this website.
Yeah.
Like, how did you start it? What made you start it? Just your fanism?
Honestly, I was just like bored like on a Sunday. I think it was like remember the Ike Davis home run grand slam walk off.
I do.
wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Early in 2014.
Yeah.
Like, probably like.
It has to be early in 2014 if Ike Davis was on the big club.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw him play in Vegas, and he was not happy to be there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I was just bored there. Then I saw these other Mets pages. I'm like, you know what? I mean, they're not that good. Nothing against them, but I know I could do better. So I tried it, and then
No,
after
but that's
a while,
good though, and
it
I
just
think
kept on getting bigger and bigger.
it takes somebody that just you look around and you see stuff, and I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
I started a little shameless plug for my personal podcast that I do called the Blackcast. I started doing it about 3.5 years ago because I was like, I would listen to a lot of podcasts. I would listen to after shows of other radio shows, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm better than all these. I'm not great, but I can do this. So, yeah, and it's great that we sort of live in an age where if you're a fan of something, it's not that hard to create a site, get it up there, create a podcast, that sort of thing.
That's another thing, though. I see a lot of comments from all these other. I try not to read too much into my comments because you get fans from all over.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of people say some insane things.
Oh, of
so,
course, yeah.
So I try not to read too much into it, but exactly.
No, because it's easy
You're
to
right.
hide behind the computer, right?
Yeah.
It's very easy to
Yeah.
hide
That's
behind the
awesome.
computer.
So where is it at now?
It's at 40. We just passed 43,000 a couple days, averaging like 100 a day, 100 new people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And you
insane.
what do you talk about? What do you say?
I do like the recaps, lineups. I talk about the game, highlights, a lot of stuff.
And
Rumors.
I was going to say, speaking of rumors, one of the things you're talking a lot about right now are some of the trade rumors. And you were telling me about one that it is, in my mind, what they need is hitting. They don't need this middle relief that they're really focused on. Yes, it could stand for an improvement. But tell me about the rumor that you posted about earlier today.
I posted about Evan Longoria. I mean, I have a source. I know a lot of people have been like, yeah, you're a kid. But I've known this guy for a while. And, he's pretty reliable.
The guy who told you about it, not Evan Longoria.
No, yeah.
Because if you knew him, that would be
What?
great. Yeah.
No.
Can I just tell you, you're gonna yell at me, but I'm gonna go see them play the Yankees in a week. So,
Oh, I might be there, too.
really?
In New York.
I saw your.
No,
your tweet
in
about
Tampa.
In Tampa, what do you? Okay, I knew you weren't going to be here next week. I didn't know you were going to Tampa.
right.
So
But that just got me so excited because I'm just like pumped to go to the game just to see.
just to see Evan Longoria.
Yes, I like him.
So
I'm
your
excited
source,
about
yeah.
that.
So
It's what
but
I'm
here's
trying
the thing:
to say.
the trading deadline. He might get dealt before you go to that game.
That would be really
What if he
annoying.
ends up on the Mets?
Well, then great. I'd see him
Sometime.
more probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all right, so and so it seems like it's something that they're interested in. You don't know anything about in terms of what the Rays are looking for because if you look at the Rays, they're having a pretty miserable season. So
Exactly.
they can kind of take
So I
a
think
little
we
bit
could
of
probably,
everything.
I think we could probably get away with giving them some like high-end prospects, but I don't know if I'm willing to give them like Ahmed Rosario or Dominic Smith.
Well, the problem with
That's a little bit too much
the
for
Mets'
me.
high-end prospects is that they're either up at the big club already or they traded them the last couple years. I mean,
That's true.
So it's worth seeing, but so I hope that a player like Evan Longoria, that's a huge game changer. I don't know exactly how they make their infield work, but that's something that I wanted to talk about next after this. So what I'm hearing is, from a few different sources that what they're interested in are the Braves' Chris Withrow, the Brewers' Jeremy Jeffress, and former Met Joe Smith, who's on the Angels. And, the Angels, probably short of Mike Trout, I think they'll give everyone a bit away. Also, I heard during the game they talked about possibly Houston Street, which would be great to have another closer in there because, as we'll also talk about later, as good as our closer is, I would just, what I liked about Billy Wagner was that he wasn't Armando Benitez. And I would like to not have that feeling, and yet, as good as Familia is, I have that feeling twice this week, and I don't need it twice in a week.
But I have to disagree with you on Billy Wagner. He gave me a fair amount of heart attacks, specifically in the 06 NLCS.
Yes.
I mean, just on that alone, I just don't think that I can agree with you there.
But
Because
I also disagree because like if you look at a lot of like great closers, I mean a lot of them get into trouble. It's just like in their nature.
it's the nature of the
Well,
job.
what I'll say about
Exactly.
Familia.
Love you both because
Yeah.
of you missed it. My player of the first half.
Was Familia.
Yes.
I watched the
And
show.
did you hear me get like destroyed the second I came out of my mouth? First of all, I was
Yeah,
like,
and I know
this
you
is
backed
my
up.
choice, so
Yeah.
it's like
So
I'm
it
allowed
can't
to
be
say
wrong.
it.
Yeah.
But that's why. Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
and look,
I
they
like
wouldn't-
them. Can they come
wouldn't-
back?
Yes,
Yes.
actually. And that's the thing, though. I mean, the Mets wouldn't be anywhere that they are. Yes, they're a half game out of the wild card. They're 5 games behind the Nats, but they wouldn't be anywhere near that without Familia. And he's been bad in non-safe situations, but even Mariano Rivera wasn't great in non-safe situations. The best guys, they don't, and it might be easy for us to say, hey, that's wrong that you don't get hyped up for a game when it's not a safe situation. But we don't know what it's like. When you can throw that hard and you're that into it, and a guy like Familia, it's great what he's brought to the team, and the way he ended up the closer, it's just the whole thing's been so amazing, and I like to think that we're very fortunate that we ended up with it. I just would like to be able to catch my breath once in a while, and I like that we have Addison Reed, who's also able to close. So if Familia gets a lot of work, Addison Reed, who's been great for the most part this year, like if Familia goes 3 or 4 days, he's not coming out again. And you can go to Addison Reed in that situation.
I do think it's the nature of being a Mets fan, though. If you don't have like the heart attack feeling once a game, then is it really
Something's wrong.
Exactly.
Right.
Do you know how many Mets fans I've heard say that? It's
Well, we had
funny.
John
It's
Franco
so
before
true.
we had Armando Benitez.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all relative, and I think having Houston Street would shore up the bullpen. It'd be great. Any of these guys would be an improvement over a few people, but guy that I'll give a shout out to this week, Hansel Robles, who I've been very hard on a few different times during the course of the season, but he's looked great this week, and could he be the player of the week? I don't know. We'll have to wait until the end, won't we? Anyway, so that's just some of the names that are going around there. Anybody have any thoughts as for what they would like to hear? You can tweet us at ABTV Mets. I couldn't get the chat open on YouTube. I'm sorry. I'm very distracted hosting the show, so I can't. I don't know. There was a connection issue. So unfortunately, if you're chatting, maybe we'll get to take a look later in the show. But anyway, let us know what you think.
Wait, I have some thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Go right ahead.
I don't know how you guys feel, but do you guys feel that offense is a bigger need at the trade deadline, like getting another big bat like
Yeah.
Longoria or Lucroy,
I
or
think,
a bullpen?
I think
which is a
if
big
they
need?
make only one move, it should be a bat. Now, if they want to do a bullpen move and getting a bat, yes, that's great. But if they only shore up the bullpen, it's like, okay, that helps, but the biggest problem is still going to be scoring runs.
And I do think another thing they have to consider is they have a ton of players. They can't figure out who to play in the outfield. They can't figure out where to put them. They can get another bat, but you got to figure out where to put them in the field. Sure, you can bring in another Wilmer Flores, but what are you going to do with the existing Wilmer Flores? You can't even get him in the game as it is.
Well, that's kind of a point that I want to get to. And somebody in the chat says don't mention Jason Bay, and I think in general we shouldn't mention Jason Bay.
How can you see that?
Well, it was bigger when I saw it. No, I have super eyes, don't you?
I thought like Zach whispered something
No.
to you, and I'm like, wait, are my headphones too
Look,
low?
what Zach whispers to me during the show is none of your business, okay? So what I do want to say, though, is enough already with Asdrubal Cabrera and Neil Walker every game. And now Asdrubal Cabrera is at, 1 for 32? No, 0 for 32 with runners in scoring position. You shouldn't get that far along in a stat like that. The Mets record is 0 for 37. Hey, let's not let him get to it. Let's not start him and Walker every day. Neither of these guys are hitting right now. And don't sit them both. I get it. They have a great double play combination. But how many runs is that saving versus the lack of run production out of these two guys? I think that Wilmer should get some more starts. He's not an everyday player. I love Wilmer.
No.
He's my son's favorite player, and the reason for that is Felix likes that he cries because sometimes you just need to cry. My son was born right...
How old is he again?
Felix is going to be a year old on Tuesday.
And he's a favorite player.
Well, because that week that he was born was when Wilmer cried on the field and all that, and he's like, yeah, sometimes I need a good cry. This is how I reasoned it all out.
Right.
Felix loves Wilmer. So look, I love Wilmer Flores. I think that he should get some more starts. You know, you can start him at second, start Reyes at shortstop sometimes, you know, put Wilmer at third, whatever. But I don't think that Asdrubal Cabrera and Neil Walker need to be in every single game. I think actually having a game with only one of them, or preferably neither, would be better. Put Kelly Johnson in the mix.
Makes me
You
sad.
can score some more runs. Their defense is great, but that's not what they need right now.
Well, what do you think about making a different double play combination in possibly Wilmer Flores and or Jose Reyes at short and putting Kelly Johnson at second? Not every day.
Not every day.
But to mix it up a little bit.
I want to see, you know, let's see how it is.
At this point, right, are you losing anything by trying?
You know, if they make an error
else
and
is
give
going
up
on?
one run because of their error, but they score 3 runs, it should be okay. It should
For
even
sure.
out.
And over the past 6 games, Kelly Johnson was hitting 600.
Yeah.
Granted, he wasn't playing in every game,
Right.
but
No.
still, that's a pretty impressive number.
He's a good bat to have off the bench, but at the same time, you know, like keep that bat. What does Matt always say? Like, oh, sit the hot hand.
Yeah,
He
right.
gets so mad. He was so mad a couple weeks ago that Wilmer had that crazy week, and then he wasn't starting.
Mm-hmm.
And he's right. Like Terry's gonna always rest the hot hand, but like let's start these 2 fossils out there. They're both younger
But
than me.
especially-
Let's start these 2 fossils every year. Go ahead.
Especially with the offense we have now, when we always struggle to get in guys when they're in scoring position. I think it's crucial to start who's hot. Crucial. So,
Totally.
I'm not saying Wilmer's like a guy who should start every day. He's not an everyday player. I don't think he ever will be. Maybe he will soon, but just not now. But you definitely have to start him at like the way he's playing right now. You can't start him over Reyes, but
Yeah.
between Asdrubal and Neil, both are pretty struggling a lot right now.
Which makes me so upset because
So-
you know Neil Walker, he was one of my favorites in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I was like,
How
man,
could he not be?
what's happening?
He was
right?
great in
Like,
April
what's
and May.
happening?
It made me not miss Daniel Murphy.
No,
you know?
right.
But
Right.
it's been a long couple months since then. Somebody in the chat had a question, and it's gone now, so it's not like I saw it through
There he
X-ray.
goes.
It's back.
But they said something about why did Terry... First of all, Terry doesn't make player moves. You know, Sandy makes those moves. Why did Terry send down Nimmo and not De Aza? I don't know that De Aza has options where you can send him down. I don't know what his contract is.
I believe he doesn't.
Yeah, and also I think with Nimmo, you want him to play every day.
Exactly.
Yeah, so if he's not going to play every day on the big club, he should play every day in Vegas.
And also, I feel like the Mets, even though we've seen Alejandro, like we wanted like more of reasoning behind letting him go. If we're gonna let him go,
Yeah, no, and
you have
and
to say, we gave him a chance.
they've
after.
given him so many chances.
Exactly.
That any day, if they
Agreed.
cut him loose, I'm okay with it. But yeah, they've taken a lot. You know, they've had a lot of looks at him, as they say. But I don't know. I think that I'd like to see something different in the infield, and if it doesn't happen via trade, which that would be great, Evan Longoria. But if that doesn't happen, you know, if come August, well, yeah, the trade deadline is later this year for whatever reason. The trade deadline is actually August 1st.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, so next week's show we won't know what happened yet, but we'll still
I'm sure
be,
the talks will be more heated.
yeah, we'll be
I'm like,
wildly
what date is
speculating
that?
though. That's Sunday. So
Sunday's the
Monday,
31st.
yeah, so Monday is going to be the trade deadline. So we'll talk more about that next week.
Okay.
But hopefully you guys let us know some things that you'd like to see the Mets do at that point. You can tweet us at ABTV Mets. Or if you want to chat right now in the YouTube chat for those of you watching live. Anyway, so we had a very exciting week for the Mets, but I wanted to talk a little bit about today, which is a very exciting day. As I alluded to in the intro, this was the day that Mike Piazza went into the Hall of Fame. And he's only the second Met to go into the Hall of Fame, as a Met anyway. Some people thought that he should go in as a Dodger, and for those of you watching on the camera, I'm showing I brought in a little Mike Piazza a pencil holder that I got in 2002. And again, when you have occasion to bring out some of the old stuff, you do. This doesn't sit on the desk every week, but I have it here today because it's a good day. And I will try and do it quickly, but I wanted to read what it says on the plaque because they read this at the induction, and I just think it's great. So it says, Mike Piazza, a durable and prolific power-hitting catcher who belted 427 career home runs, including a record 396 at the position. Caught at least 100 games 11 times, leading the NL in putouts on 4 occasions. The 1993 NL Rookie of the Year and 12-time All-Star Game, named MVP in 1996.
Wow.
Led the Mets to the 2000 Subway Series, and helped rally a nation 1 year later with his dramatic home run in the first Mets game in New York following the 9/11 attacks. So what I said in the cold open, the very beginning of the show, that was actually Howie Rose's call of that at-bat, the Mike Piazza at-bat against the Braves on September 21st, 2001. I was at that game, and I had previously bought tickets for that whole series against the Braves because we had this cockamamie idea that the Mets were gonna, run down the Braves and maybe, or maybe be the wild card. The 2001 Mets team wasn't that good, but that series was very exciting, and that game was amazing because you had this moment where we'd had 10 days that were probably amongst the worst days you could have as New Yorkers. And there wasn't anything to smile about, there wasn't anything to laugh about. And all of a sudden, Mike Piazza hits that home run, and we're standing up and we're yelling at the top of our heads. Grown men are crying. Everybody's crying, because you're so
it
happy.
makes you forget for a second.
Exactly. And that's what sports should be able to do, is make us forget about those things. And as serious as we can all take sports, that was one of those moments where, yes, of course, it would have been great if the Mets had gone on and won the World Series. But I felt so good in that moment to just be there with all these New Yorkers. And even if Mike Piazza wasn't a Hall of Fame hitter, if he wasn't a Hall of Fame catcher, and he didn't have the career he had, that one game right there probably would have cemented him as at least one of my favorite players. Now, Jaron, I know you're much younger, but as you hear about Piazza and you sort of, see maybe older games and footage, what do you think about any Met, but specifically a popular Met like him going into the Hall of Fame?
Oh, Mike was easily my most favorite player of all time. I mean, when I was a baby growing up, I love Mike Piazza.
Sure.
Like, my parents tell me one of my first words was literally Piazza.
Nice! I like that a lot.
I copy his exact stance, like everything he did.
That's
I love Piazza. I still do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a shame it took him this long to make it to the Hall of Fame, but
look, there's a lot of guys from that era that don't get in.
Exactly.
And, there's never been any concrete evidence of any wrongdoing by Mike.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rumors, but there's rumors about pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
And,
Everyone loved him.
in the same way everybody in the 80s could be thrown out because everybody was on greenies and uppers and whatever. But at the same time, here's a guy who's clean. And I was glad to see, obviously not a Met, Ken Griffey Jr., another great player. I was very glad to see him. And, on the Mets radio broadcast, they were making fun of Piazza because he had said he was going to cry a lot. He teared up like twice when he talked about his parents. But Ken Griffey Jr., he couldn't get through like the first few words. He kept going. Everybody, and the guys at MLB Network were like, yeah, you had us all crying. And so it was a great day. I love a Hall of Fame day. I would have really liked to have been there to see, one of my favorite Mets, one of my favorite players of all time, get inducted. But I was glad that I got to watch it on TV. And then, Melissa, any thoughts on Mike Piazza?
Yeah, well, particularly about Hall of Fame weekend, Gary brought it up on the Mets broadcast yesterday that Hall of Fame weekend, or at least the induction day, should be a baseball holiday because every year the people who should be watching, the players and the commentators who do this for a living, are working.
Busy, yeah.
Yeah, and guys who could be there, like teammates of Piazza's who are, like Lenny Harris is a base coach for the Marlins. He's one of Piazza's best friends. I'm sure he would have liked to have been there.
Right.
Obviously, he knows his job is to be, base coach.
Of course.
But it's a perfect example of guys who would love to go and, be able to support their friend.
That's a good point.
But then also people at home just being able to watch. I don't know how you make it work.
Well, their suggestion was to do it during the All-Star break.
Of course.
And instead of having Thursday as an off day, do a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series and make that Sunday an off day.
I heard Gary say that, and I know from a business perspective that's a bad idea.
Of course.
Because it's a Sunday home game, you're going to get more. So, do it on the Thursday, though. Have the games be Friday, Saturday, Sunday or something.
Right.
So then Thursday is a day where you're not going to get that much, attendance. So I think it's a great idea. I don't know. Let us know what you guys think at ABTV Mets.
That's a good point.
But I think it's a great day, and 2 players got in this year, and then in a recent year only 1. But there's sometimes 3, 4, 5 guys get in, and it's great to just see some of them tell the stories. Like Piazza had great stories about early in his career. Griffey had some great stories about actually getting to play with his dad, which just blows
The
my mind.
back-to-back homers.
Yeah.
That he didn't realize like the significance of
Yeah.
it until later. That made me so happy.
Yeah.
It's a special memory.
Exactly.
I forgot to mention, I also have this.
Oh yeah,
Piazza
speaking of
shirt.
Piazza, yeah. So for everybody watching on
I don't know if you guys
YouTube,
can see
Jared
that.
has on. It's a great outline of Piazza. I saw Piazza
awesome.
was on Jimmy Kimmel earlier this week, and he said that for his Hall of Fame, he thought about growing back the mustache, the Fu Manchu, but it was all gray now. So he's like, I can't do
But
it.
he should get one of
no.
these cute.
The thing for men.
The
What
thing
is
that
it?
Keith Hernandez
Yeah,
used to endorse,
just
for
dye
Men.
it.
Yeah, that's probably what Keith should have said.
Yeah.
That's a great commercial that they should do. Is
Yeah,
Piazza's
that would
like,
be-
I can't grow back.
Yes.
Come on,
Because he needs more money endorsing more products.
Right.
Hey, Keith could use the money. All right,
That's true.
I mean, he's out in his garden today, out in Sag Harbor. I mean, he could, probably buy some more plants.
And his residuals from Seinfeld aren't as high as they used to be.
Yeah, no, he's talked about it. It's like he'll get a check for like 8 cents
Yeah.
sometimes.
Hey,
so.
you know what? There's some places you can go that will take your residual checks.
Oh, there's a
Really?
bar actually in LA
Names,
called
residuals.
Residuals.
Yeah. It's
They-
a karaoke bar. I've
That's
been
what
there.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
so funny.
Supposedly they had to stop though because that made them qualify as a check cashing place. So now if you show it
So
to
it's like
them,
illegal.
they don't take it, but they'll give you a drink. So, but yes, that's what happens when you live in Hollywood.
Yes.
You have things that are geared towards residual checks,
That's so
which is pretty amazing.
I
Anyway.
was also going to mention
Sure.
that where you could buy it if you guys
Oh, I'm
wanna
sorry.
buy
I
it.
did. I stepped on your plug. See, that's a good businessman, though. You bring it right back around. So, show the shirt again for people
I
watching.
love that.
And it's a great shirt.
I love standing up helps.
Yeah, no, well, it does for the people.
You're good.
Yeah.
You can see on my Instagram too, NYM News.
Yeah.
It's like probably like one of my most recent ones.
And,
Right
that,
around
and at NYM News, they'll tell
And
you.
you can get it on ZeusArts.com, like
Okay.
ZEUS Arts. I'll put up the link
Put up
after
the link,
show.
yeah, absolutely.
Right now the link is on the show, but like after I'll put up the link to buy it.
You see, that's a great
10%
shirt.
off with
Whoa,
promo code NYM News.
Nice.
10% off.
10% off. Look at that.
think I'm
Seven
gonna
Line,
buy one.
How long
Seven
do I
Line
get
never
that?
cuts a discount for
No.
us, and we're
We
not
need
free
one.
shirt. But
We need
anyway,
one.
what were you gonna say?
I said,
Oh,
how
no.
long have you had that? Like, how long ago did you get
I
it?
just got it like yesterday.
Oh, really?
Actually, yeah, I came in the mail yesterday.
Perfect
Well,
timing
yeah,
for
to
the
be
show,
able
yeah.
to show it off on the show. Well, that's great, and any huge Piazza fan like myself, it'd be
Yeah,
hard
exactly.
to pass that up. Anyway, before we run out of time, we should probably talk about this week in Mets
Yeah.
baseball. As I said, it was a 5-4 road trip. It was they had a great series in Philly. As good as the game that I went to was, would have been nice to see the DeGrom one-hit complete game shutout. And when you have a one-hit complete game shutout, and the only hit is by the opposing pitcher, you have to kick yourself. Like, as if DeGrom goes through his career and never gets a no-hitter, he's going to be like, really? That was my
one
chance?
time.
That was the time I could have done it?
No, he'll get it. I think he'll
Yeah,
get it.
I think he's good enough that he will. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. But,
I think it's more of like I hear you, but to me, I'm like, dude, you still did it.
Oh,
And
no,
I think it's
I'm sure
funny.
he's
It's
not a
more
guy
of
who's going to
joke,
complain.
I get it, but yeah.
So we're not going to have much to say about the first game or the third game in the Cubs series. John Lester not looking like the John Lester that the Mets faced a few weeks earlier. The Cubs won 5-1. There's another loss for Mets. Does the week turn around for him? We'll find out as we go. But let's talk about that Tuesday game. Melissa and I, we were texting during it, or Facebook, or whatever we were
Whatever,
doing.
it's
We were
the
Twitter
Twitter.
direct messaging. And again, I'm going to give another shameless plug. I also host another show here at AfterBuzz called Trump versus Hillary, where we cover the election. So Tuesday night, we were going to be doing our first show, so I was watching all the convention stuff, and it wasn't really fun, but I had the Mets game on mute, and I was like, at least I have something fun to look at,
Right.
And I had to turn off I paused the convention because with the ninth inning, the top of the ninth, this is where Jose almost earned me opening the cabaret,
so
which is still
excited.
here. He almost did, so he gets the run there, which is great. But then he made me want to take this bottle and smash it against the brick wall over there because the ball that was supposed to go foul, he picks it up and tries to throw it first. Come on,
That's
I know
little
you're
league stuff.
I know you're new to third base, but you're not new to baseball. You understand that was going to be a foul ball. So there he goes. He sets the stage for bases loaded, no out for Familia, who, definitely got himself, as Melissa pointed out when we were talking about this, he created 2/3 of the problem. Reyes created the other third of the problem. So Melissa, what are you thinking? I know how stressed out you get when it's not even that kind of a situation.
Yeah.
Were you at work watching, by the way? Or if your boss is watching, you can pretend that you weren't.
I was at work, but
Okay.
it was after hours.
Okay,
I'd
good.
stayed late. And top of the ninth, we have the lead, and I figure I can step into
I'll start.
a meeting.
Oh, no.
I step into a meeting, and I come out, and I notice that my phone doesn't have a notification that the game ended. So my first thought is, oh, no. What has happened? And I look, and it's up on my computer, and I see bases loaded, nobody out. And my first thought is, avoided the main part of the heart attack, but then it didn't end.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, so it's like the big earthquake was over, but you had all the aftershocks. Yeah.
And it just, I
I
didn't
know.
Hysterical.
She gets very emotional, believe
Yeah.
me.
I love it.
It was I would have been okay missing that one and just finding out about it
Finding out
later.
about it after the fact. But when you're watching a game like that,
The rush, like once the game
when
ended,
the game ends, and Jaron, it ends because Reyes makes a great throw.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So talk about watching that, and I hope. Well, so you must not be in school now because it's summer. I was going to say I hope that school was over, but you were home. So talk about watching that and just the way that that half inning unfolded and the way.
I always had faith Familia was going to get out of it because he does that a lot. Like we were talking about
a little
closers,
too much, but
naturally,
yes, he does.
exactly. So. And he threw that ball. It was so hard. I don't think Wilmer would have made that play. So for all the people saying,
it's a good point.
Start Wilmer. I mean, you have to realize.
I don't know if Evan Longoria would have made that play. Just saying. Just saying.
That arm from Reyes is still there. I think it'll always be there for the rest of his career.
That's why he has a wine named after him.
I will be here when you
I
open
was
that.
just
Wait,
gonna say.
I just
we
realized
need
I'm
to
cheating
bring
it to
you
the
back.
wrong. I'm cheating it to the wrong camera. Sorry.
When we open it, you have to be.
I will.
All right.
I will be here.
Because I don't think we're opening it today. Anyway,
I
so
even made a note about Flores because him in the third game against the Cubs, he made so many errors. I was like,
he didn't look good. He did not look good.
No.
But when Melissa and I were texting about it, you pointed out it's not a Mets game without a panic attack, and I think that should be a
very true.
T-shirt.
And I'm gonna
And-
design one.
Yeah, either.
Maybe that'll be the
I was
next
gonna say,
T-shirt.
Let me-
Yeah.
let me
you're
do
sitting
it.
next.
I'll
No,
send it
but
to
you
you.
can design it.
Yeah.
You guys can get together,
Yes.
and he
Okay.
can help market it. So you see, I'm putting people together
Yeah.
for business opportunities.
Absolutely.
That's what we
With
do
his
here at
marketing
Mets Wrap
abilities,
360.
10% off.
10% off if you mention NYM News.
Yes.
But we don't have the shirt yet.
No.
So we'll develop. Or
We'll work
not
on
me.
it.
Excited for it.
I don't know how I brought myself into the shirt.
Can we
You
get
guys-
free ones?
Apparently, you guys are getting a cut of the profits.
Yeah.
Kind of.
We'll work on the contract.
Yeah, we'll
made
see.
it happen.
maybe you can pay us in free shirts. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Okay,
There you
that's
go.
fair.
Andrew's like, wait a minute, that's not a free shirt. I want a cut of the money.
I want the
But
shirt.
yeah, so anyway, to Jaron's point though, I mean, when you watch a game like that, it's as heart wrenching and it's just sphincter tightening as it is to watch that situation unfold. For him to get out of it, you're just like you feel like you just got the final out. On
Exactly.
The mound. And when obviously he had every reason to be that excited.
No, I don't know if anybody else does this, but Familia's like when he gets that last out, that little
my
thing he
God.
does at this does anybody
The
else
air
do that
hump.
at home?
Um,
Because
I
I
don't-
do it at home. I get so excited that he did the game, and I'm like,
That's awesome.
yes!
I loved it.
I just
and,
smiled.
I just do the David Wright fist bump.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just-
that,
you-
oh, the,
you
the
can't
Or
Captain
the
America
Jose
fist bump.
Reyes over the head.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
that was
that's
always
great,
good.
that's great.
I
That's
remember that Familia's antics were particularly unappreciated by Zach Greinke's wife during the Dodger series. She actually tweeted about it that she was sad that the series was over, but glad that she didn't have to see
wow.
Familia
That's
celebrate
funny.
anymore. But and now look where your husband signed. So there's no celebrating ever.
gosh.
So hey, that's not at her. That's at Zach. You chase the big money contract to go to Arizona, so have fun. Having batting practice get hit into that stupid pool that they have. Anyway,
Exactly.
they have a pool in the outfield,
It's ridiculous.
which you gotta spend like $3,000
But
and
you know
rent
what'd
out
be
that
really
whole
cool?
section. What would that?
If you get the slide from Miller Park
Yeah.
and
Oh
put it
my God, I
over the
love that
pool
slide.
at Chase Field,
Well,
that would
when
be a
they
combo.
opened Miller Park, Bernie Brewer would go down that slide into a giant mug of beer, and they took that part away. But he still goes down the slide, and as long as it's not a Mets game, I love watching him go
So-
down. I'll watch him go down that slide all day as long as it's not a Mets
when
game.
we were there at the 7 line, we were sitting just beneath where the slide is.
Yeah.
And when he got down the slide, he couldn't stand up on his own. He has
Bernie?
to wait for someone to pull him up because I guess his head is too
Did
big or
Darren
something.
from the 7 line give him a
funny.
hand?
Not that I saw.
Yeah, probably not. That doesn't seem like his speed. No, he's a posing mascot,
Yeah.
If the fanatic falls down a flight of stairs, are you going to help him up?
Right.
I mean, probably.
You would.
Because
Yeah.
John Quinones would be there.
Yeah.
What would you do? You help the opposing team.
I guess.
I'm obsessed with
You're
that
making me
show.
feel bad.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Well, there's not much to say about the Wednesday loss against the Cubs. It was a bad game by Cologne, but He's allegedly 42, if not 52.
No, he's 43 now, isn't he?
Yes.
Whatever.
He doesn't care.
I don't care. I don't believe that that's how old he is.
thinks he's
I don't
like-
believe he only has 2 families. I think he has 5. Yeah. So,
He's a legend, though.
he's a legend on
Because
the
of the
field and
families?
off.
Yes.
He
No,
hit
just
the home run.
Everything he does is just
That's
legendary.
true.
He's big sexy. Everybody loves him.
That man is an island.
He's been a lovable guy for years.
I'd
and
like to hug him.
Right?
I think that would be a great hug.
you want to? I was
think
like,
it'd
wait a
be
minute. You
smelly.
did get to hug him? I thought you said you did.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
So no hugs for Big Sexy yet.
No,
All
but
right. He's probably going to pitch for another 5
It'll
years, so you'll get a
happen.
Yeah.
chance. Yeah.
I have a feeling
and it's
it'll
going to be the
happen.
best hug I've ever had.
So Friday at that Cubs series, look, they beat the Cubs when it mattered. They swept them in the NLCS. They swept them at the series at home. So they've won the season series for
It's
them.
tough. We've always had a hard time in Chicago,
Especially at
too.
Wrigley, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a tough place to play. It's a great place to see a game as long as you don't have one of the thousands of seats that's right behind like a pillar. But it can be, if you have the expensive seats at Wrigley, it's an amazing place to see a game. So let's talk about the Marlins series before we have to wrap up momentarily. So that was a big win for Robles, whom I'm giving a lot of credit to because I've really knocked the guy a lot. Look, if next week, if we have a week where Asdrubal Cabrera and Neil Walker, have like 10 RBI each, great. I'll talk about how great they are, and I was wrong. I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm talking about Hansel Robles, who's great. Man, Phelps looked bad. He's another former Yankee, recovering Yankee, like somebody over here. And Familia, again, with the heart attack and the agita and all that stuff.
Agita.
You're killing me. Verrett can't catch a break, but he actually pitched reasonably well. So we've kind of we've sort of beaten the Familia heart attack over our head, over the audience's head. But it was a good win to have. You want to at least win the series against Miami because of the fact that you're a game and a half behind them in the second wild card standings. So that's why Saturday was very frustrating because Jose Fernandez, who's usually dominant at Marlins Park, he was very beatable, but you had all these guys coming up with men in scoring position as Asdrubal Cabrera and Neil Walker. If we had done this show last night, I probably would have had an actual heart attack because of how angry I was at all the times that those guys left men on base. They're not the only ones who did,
Right.
but... and how is it that like James Loney has become one of my favorite Mets? He was
Oh,
one of the guys
he's
that I
great.
hated
He's
with the
great.
Dodgers, but
Exactly.
I have to. So, but
And that brings up, I wanted to bring this up.
Sure.
If when Duda comes back, would you guys start Duda or would you keep Loney there?
I would see how see how Duda's hitting, but I mean, Duda is a little bit more consistent. Duda at his best is more consistent than Loney has been, but Loney's playing like over his head. So Duda's not that close from what I'm hearing, from what they said today. He was actually in Miami just visiting the team, not doing baseball stuff.
Because he's working on Port St. Lucie.
Yeah, so he probably won't be back for a little bit. But yeah, and look, that's a great problem to have. If you have to choose between 2 first basemen who hit well, that'll be great. It's a good point. I am very fond of Duda, and I would just like to see him in the lineup just because the Duda
big
abides, as
bat.
the shirt says.
I understand, but
Yeah.
I would start Loney all the way because you see him making these plays in the field. I don't know if Duda
His
would be
defense
there.
is so much better.
Amazing.
If
I
Loney
feel
was
like
if
weeks
Loney
ago-
if sorry, I'll let you finish in a second.
No, you go.
If Loney was playing first base in the World Series, that game wouldn't have ended the way it did.
Exactly.
So, but anyway, what was your point, Andrea?
No, I was actually kind of talking about Loney, saying all of a sudden he's doing better.
Yeah,
right?
how long is it going to last?
That's
Really?
where I'm
Yeah.
going.
But he's always been around like a 300 hitter. So
Yeah, except for his couple years in Tampa,
it.
but with the Dodgers, he was very consistent. Sorry,
Yeah.
Melissa, you had something.
I think I forgot it.
Okay, that's
Oh,
good though.
no comment
But that's
on
okay. You
Duda Loney.
you just love everybody.
Oh, I remember.
Okay, you
I was
remember.
saying that he would have made that play in the playoffs. I don't think you can say that.
Oh.
I feel pretty confident that he would. I feel pretty confident that anyone other than Lucas Duda would have made that play.
I mean,
I was there. I'm just gonna
the
say.
David Wright throw there, like it was a pretty
Yeah.
slow throw. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
yeah, it hurts me
I know.
too. Like
a third baseman with
I
an
collapsed in
actual
tears.
back that worked could have
Yeah.
thrown that bat.
It's
So.
like
Anyway, let's take a very quick look ahead to the week ahead before we run out of time. Obviously, big win today. I realized I almost skipped the fact that Steven Matz got a win. God bless
Yes,
him.
let's go.
So that was great. I was very excited. I was very glad to see the add-on runs late in the game because the Mets are not good at that. And, you know, I thought, I'm like, okay, so this is going to be another 1-0 game where Familia comes in and, you know, he looked better than he did earlier in the week, but it wasn't easy. But it was a good win. I was very happy for Steven Matz. He's a much better pitcher than his record has indicated the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Also, the bone spur couldn't have helped.
Yeah, no, the bone spur. The bone spurs are
The bone
something.
spur fairy.
Yeah,
Right.
Exactly. So we have a series against the Cardinals coming up with Syndergaard's going tomorrow night against Martinez, Jaime Garcia and Bartolo Colon, Adam Wainwright against TBD, probably Logan Ferret, but we'll see. This Cardinal team is not the Cardinal team of recent years, but they're still really good. You have to play them really hard. It's good to have Syndergaard in the first game because if you can definitely take that first game, that would be a great way to start the week. Now, for some reason, so there's a 4-game series against the Rockies, and for some reason, the Thursday game is at 1 o'clock Eastern. I have no idea why. I guess it's a camp day or something. But, you know, as we always talk about on the West Coast, that's great because that's a 10 a.m. game for us. Those of us who don't have jobs to be at. Sorry, Melissa.
I still watch. I mean, don't
No, you don't. No, you don't. You watch it later when you get home.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and then, you know, after that, the Mike Piazza Hall of Fame weekend against the Rockies. There'll be 4 games against the Yankees, which we'll talk about next week. So a lot of exciting things coming up. The trade deadline. We'll talk about all that. Very quickly, I want to talk about Player of the Week. And keeping in mind we only really have about a minute,
So
I'm going to just give it to Hansel Robles for all the reasons I said earlier. Almost gave it to Michael Conforto, who was thrown into center field and actually performed really well. But he's only had a game and a piece of a game there, so let's see how that goes. I will start with our guest at the far end, Jaron. Who would you say is the Mets Player of the Week this week?
I have to say Jose Reyes, in my opinion. That double play at the end.
He was great, and he almost got me to open the Cabaret.
And also, one more thing I want to add before we go is that I feel like just like last year, we're in the similar position that right now the Mets could be a playoff contender, obviously with a rotation.
Yeah.
But I feel like if we want to get over the hump and be like a threat to the Nationals and even beyond that, we have to go after a guy like Longoria.
They have to do
Lucroy.
something if they want to even consider the wild card, much less the division. And Melissa,
I was going to say Jose Reyes, but I feel like everyone who's known me since high school is going to be like, oh my God, of course she said that. So I'm going to go with my second choice, which was actually my first choice, James Loney. Please don't kill me.
No, he's been great now. He's a
He
guy
would not have won some of those games this
I
year.
definitely agree. That home run, that ball is still sailing. And finally, Andrea, who would you say is Player of the Week?
I'm gonna be a cop-out bandwagoner and just go with Reyes. And
Just
I
because
don't
you want me
think
to
you should
open
feel,
this.
Yes.
You want me to open the Cabaret,
Like
but I
now,
can't do it. I can't do it.
I don't think you should feel like that because guess what? He wasn't on the team 5 minutes ago, so you couldn't even say that the first half.
true.
So
You haven't been able to
be
say it in,
excited
like,
that
5
you
or
can
6
say
years,
it.
so.
And he knows I'm not a huge Reyes fan. Like,
That's true.
at all. Like,
But you are a wine fan,
I'm
so
a
that's what
right
it comes
fan,
down to.
but
Probably the best wine you'll ever have.
I'm definitely a wine fan.
All right.
So,
Well, thanks
great.
so much to our guests, Jaron Kiviat of NYM News, and it is
name.
at NYM_news, and at Melissa Wine, that's Melissa Weinstein, and of course Andy Fasano at Andy Fasano.
Yep.
I'm Christian Bladt at Christian DMZ. Don't forget, we're at ABTV Mets. Make sure that you follow us there and you like us and comment all that good stuff on iTunes. We'll see you next week on Mets Wrap 360.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.